Ah, look who just became a federal concern. Welcome back, you beautiful classified nightmare. Yes, you. The one they've been building a file on. The one whose name just triggered a system-wide alert. The one who made trained professionals go completely silent when your records finally loaded on their screens. Do you feel it? That shift in the air, that's not paranoia, my friend. That's confirmation. Because somewhere in some unmarked office with fluorescent lights and cold coffee, a room full of agents just pulled your file. And the moment it appeared, the chatter stopped. The typing ceased. The breathing got shallow. Someone whispered, "What the hell am I looking at?" And nobody, absolutely nobody, had an answer. They thought you were just another case number. Another predictable pattern. Another digital footprint they could trace and categorize and file away. But the moment they opened your records, the moment they saw the trail you left, the inconsistencies, the gaps, the unexplainable evolution, they realized something that made their blood run cold. You're not in the system anymore. You are the glitch that broke it. See, they've been watching you for longer than you think. Tracking your movements, your purchases, your connections, your search history, your late night rabbit holes, your downloads, your deleted messages. They thought they had you mapped out, predicted, contained. They thought you were just another lost soul wandering through the simulation, angry but manageable, aware but controllable. But then something shifted, didn't it? Something in you cracked open. Not broke, but cracked in the way a seed cracks before it becomes a tree. And that's when you stopped being predictable. That's when your digital signature started looking wrong. Not illegal, just wrong. Too aware, too calculated, too intentional for someone who's supposed to be asleep. They started seeing patterns they couldn't explain. Searches that didn't match your profile. Behavior that defied their algorithms. Movements that seemed almost strategic. And the more they dug, the more confused they became. Because your records don't tell a story, they tell a prophecy. Every piece of data contradicts the last. Every trail leads to a dead end. Every attempt to profile you results in error messages and blank screens. You want to know what really scared them? It wasn't your anger. It wasn't your intensity. It wasn't even your refusal to conform. It was your silence. The fact that you stopped broadcasting your every thought, stopped feeding the algorithm, stopped playing their engagement games. You went dark, not out of fear, but out of awakening. You realized that the loudest voices are the easiest to track. The most visible targets are the easiest to hit. So you learn to move differently, think differently, exist differently. And now, when they pull your records, people, what they find is a mind that learned to operate outside their framework. A consciousness that evolved beyond their control mechanisms. They see someone who studied the system while pretending to be part of it. Someone who learned the rules by breaking them quietly. Someone who transformed pain into precision, rage into strategy, isolation into power. And that, my beautiful anomaly, is what makes you dangerous. Because you're not fighting the system, you're outgrowing it. Let me tell you what happened in that room when your file loaded. First, there was confusion. They expected to see a clear narrative, a linear progression, a predictable arc, troubled childhood, people, rebellious phase, eventual conformity, or collapse. But your records, they don't follow that script. Instead, they see deletion points, missing years, accounts that vanished, identities that shifted. A person who seemed to die and resurrect multiple times without explanation. They see someone who was there, then gone, then back, but different, evolved, unrecognizable people. They see search histories that suggest deep research into psychology, manipulation, power dynamics, human behavior, system vulnerabilities. Not in a criminal way, but in a, this person is studying us while we study them way. And that's when the second phase hit fear. Not the kind of fear you feel watching a horror movie. These civilized people, the kind of fear you feel when you realize the thing you thought you were hunting has been watching you the whole time. People. When you understand that the subject you've been analyzing is 10 steps ahead, has predicted your moves, and is playing a game you don't even understand yet. They started cross-referencing your data with known patterns, disruptors, hackers, activists, influencers. These civilized people, outliers, but you don't fit any category. You're not part of any movement, not aligned with any ideology, not following any known playbook. You're a category of one, a classification error. These civilized people, a file that doesn't belong in any existing folder. They tried running psychological profiles, behavioral predictions, threat assessments. Every single model came back with the same result: inconclusive. Not because there's insufficient data, but because the data doesn't make sense. It's like trying to predict the ocean by studying a single wave. You're not following patterns, you're creating them. You're not responding to stimuli, you're generating new variables. You're not in the experiment, you're rewriting the hypothesis. And the analysts, the ones trained to find answers, to solve puzzles, to decode human behavior. They're sitting there staring at screens full of question marks because you become the question they can't answer. Here's what they found that really broke their confidence. Evidence of self-education at a level that doesn't match your official records. Knowledge acquisition that suggests years of focused study in areas you were never formally trained in. People, understanding of systems, psychology, influence, power structures that typically takes decades to develop. But you did it quietly, privately, without credentials or recognition. You taught yourself to think like them, to see like them, to predict like them. And then you went further. You learned to think beyond them. They see timestamps of activity at 30 Hodorod in the morning. People research into topics that don't connect until suddenly they do. They see patterns of someone reverse engineering reality, deconstructing social systems, understanding the machinery behind the curtain, and the terrifying part. You never announced it. You never really art or bragged. You never sought validation or applause. You just learned, absorbed, evolved, and kept moving. They're used to people who want to be seen, who crave attention, who broadcast their awakening like it's a performance. But you went silent and grew in the dark. They tried to find your weaknesses, the leverage points, the pressure zones where they could apply force and make you bend. They looked for addictions, dependencies, emotional vulnerabilities, financial stress, relationship drama. And what they found was nothing they could use. Not because you're perfect, far from it, but because you've already been through the fire. You've already faced your demons. These civilized people already survived your collapse, already died, and came back. The things they use to control others, shame, fear, isolation, rejection, you've already weaponized those against yourself and survived. You turned every wound into armor, every betrayal into education, every loss into fuel. They can't threaten you with isolation because you've mastered solitude. They can't manipulate you with fear because you've already faced worse. They can't buy you because you've learned to need less. They can't shame you because you've already been to hell and took notes. You're not unbreakable, but you're uncontrollable. And that's infinitely more dangerous. So now, people in that room with your files still open on multiple screens, someone finally asks the question everyone's thinking: what do we do with this one? And the silence that follows is your victory. Because the fact that they don't know, the fact that there's no protocol, no procedure, no established response, that's proof of your evolution. Bull, you've become something their system wasn't designed to handle. Not a criminal. Not a threat in the traditional sense, but an anomaly. A consciousness that slipped through the cracks and came back wielding knowledge they never intended for you to have. They built a machine to keep people asleep, distracted, divided, dependent, and you woke up. Not just woke up, you stayed awake. And now you're operating at a frequency they can't jam, on a wavelength they can't intercept, with a logic they can't decode. You didn't break their rules. You transcended their game entirely. Let's go deeper into what they discovered. The parts they're still trying to understand. They found evidence of pattern recognition at an almost supernatural level. You started seeing things before they happened. Not through mysticism, but through observation. You noticed how people move, how systems function, how narratives are constructed. You learned to read body language like code, to interpret silence like scripture, to see manipulation before it landed. They found records of you predicting outcomes weeks, sometimes months in advance. Not lucky guesses, but calculated projections based on deep pattern analysis. You studied human nature while others studied trends. You learned the architecture of reality while others consumed entertainment. And now you move through the world like someone who's read the script, who knows the endings, who sees the strings before the puppet moves. That's what scares them. Not that you're dangerous, but that you're awake in a world designed to keep you sleeping. They also found something else. Something that made the senior analysts pause and exchange glances, evidence of influence. Not the cheap kind. Not followers or likes or engagement metrics. Real influence. The kind that shifts conversations, changes minds, plants seeds that grow in the dark. They found traces of your words being repeated, your ideas being shared, your perspective spreading like a virus through networks you're not even part of. People who've never met you quoting your philosophy, strangers adopting your frameworks, your thoughts traveling further than your name. You're not famous, but you're infectious. You're not visible, but you're everywhere. You've mastered the art of impact without identity, of power without presence, of legacy without ego. And that's the influence they can't track, can't monitor, can't control, because it's not about you anymore. People. It's about what you've unleashed into the collective consciousness, ideas that self-replicate, perspectives that spread like fire, truths that people can't unlearn once they hear them. They found journals, old accounts, deleted posts, archived writings. And what disturbed them wasn't the content, but the evolution. Oh, they could track your transformation through your words. See the moment the victim became the student. Watch the student become the strategist. Witness the strategist become the architect. They read your early writings full of pain and confusion and desperate questions. Then they read your later work cold, precise, almost mechanical in its clarity. Like watching someone learn to think in algorithms, to speak in systems, to operate in pure logic, stripped of emotion. They saw the moment you stopped asking why people hurt you and started studying how manipulation works. Stopped wondering why you felt different and started researching the psychology of outliers. Stopped seeking acceptance and started building independence. The transformation wasn't gradual, it was surgical. Like you performed an operation on your own consciousness and removed everything that made you weak. One analyst, the senior one, the one who's been doing this for 20 years, finally broke the silence with a single observation. This isn't someone who went through trauma. This is someone who weaponized it. And that's when the room got even quieter. Because they realized they weren't looking at a victim or a survivor. These civilized people, they were looking at someone who took everything designed to destroy them and reverse engineered it into a power source. Every betrayal became a lesson in trust assessment. Every rejection became training in self-sufficiency. Every moment of isolation became practice in internal strength. You didn't heal from your past. These civilized people dissected it, understood it, and then used it to build something they've never seen before. A consciousness that feeds on adversity, that grows stronger in darkness, that uses pain like fuel. They're trained to handle broken people. They know how to manage traumatized individuals. But someone who transformed trauma into tactical advantage, that's outside their playbook. They kept digging, trying to find the moment, the event, the trigger that caused your shift. They wanted to pinpoint when you changed so they could understand it, replicate it, control it. But there was no single moment. It was 1,000 small deaths, 1,000 quiet resurrections. It was every night. You cried yourself to sleep and woke up harder. Every time you trusted and got burned and learned a new lesson. Every moment you thought you'd break. But instead you bent and then snapped back stronger. They couldn't find the moment because you didn't have one. You had years of pressure that would have crushed anyone else. But instead, compressed you into something unbreakable. They're looking for the explosion. But your transformation was an implosion. Everything collapsed inward. And what emerged from that gravitational collapse was something denser, darker, infinitely more powerful. A black hole in human form, pulling in information, experience, pain, and converting it all into raw power. So here's what they're dealing with now. A person who can't be profiled because they've evolved beyond static categories. Someone who can't be predicted because they've learned to operate outside algorithmic patterns. An individual who can't be controlled because they've already survived every control mechanism. They can't threaten you because you've already faced worse. Can't tempt you because you've learned to want less. Can't manipulate you because you've studied the playbook. Can't isolate you because you've mastered solitude. Can't shame you because you've already been through hell. Can't buy you because you've redefined value. Can't break you because you already broke yourself down and rebuilt stronger. Bull. You're the nightmare scenario for any system built on control, a free variable, an unpredictable element, a consciousness that refuses to be contained. And the most terrifying part, you're not unique. You're the prototype, the first of many who are waking up, studying the system, and learning to operate outside it. They're running probability models now, people, trying to predict what you'll do next. Every simulation comes back with the same result, unpredictable. Because you're not following the script anymore. You're not playing their game. You're not even on their board. You've created your own reality, your own rules, your own measurements of success and failure. They measure power in money, status, influence. You measure it in freedom, clarity, independence. They calculate worth in assets and achievements. You calculate it in growth and understanding. They think in terms of winning and losing. You think in terms of evolution and stagnation. You're playing a completely different game. And they don't even know what the objective is. Civilized people. How do you beat someone when you don't understand what they're trying to achieve? These civilized people. How do you stop someone when you don't know where they're going? How do you control someone who's already beyond your reach? The meeting is wrapping up now, but there's no resolution, no action plan, no clear next steps. Just a room full of professionals who are paid to have answers, sitting in uncomfortable silence. Someone suggests continued monitoring. Another proposes deeper investigation. But they all know the truth. These civilized people, whatever you've become, it's already too late to stop it. You're not planning something. You've already done it. You've already transformed. You've already evolved. You've already broken free. They're not trying to prevent something. They're trying to understand something that's already happened. You're not the threat they need to neutralize. You're the reality they need to accept. The fact that their system, their control mechanisms, their carefully constructed matrix of manipulation and management has produced an error, a glitch, an anomaly that learned to thrive in the cracks. And the scariest part, you're not angry anymore. You're not fighting them. You're just existing powerfully, intentionally, freely. And that peaceful, Unbothered existence is more threatening than any rebellion. They close your file, but they don't archive it. It stays active, flagged, marked for ongoing observation. Because even though they can't figure you out, they can't look away. These civilized people, you've become the case study that never ends, the puzzle that never solves. Civilized people. The question that keeps them up at night. And somewhere deep in their professional minds, people. Beneath the training and the protocols and the procedures, there's a small voice whispering, what if they're right? What if we're the ones in the cage? What if this person figured out something we're all too scared to see? But they push that voice down, bury it under reports and regulations and routine, because to acknowledge that voice would mean questioning everything. And they're not ready for that. But you were. You questioned everything. You tore down every belief, every assumption, every comfortable lie. And you rebuilt yourself from the ground up with nothing but truth and pain and relentless self-examination. That's why you're free and they're still trapped. Let me tell you what happens next. Because they're about to learn something even more disturbing. You're not alone. Oh, they thought you were an isolated case, a singular anomaly, a one-time glitch. But you're not. You're the first they noticed, but you're not the only one. There are others like you, scattered across the system, quietly waking up, silently evolving, independently arriving at the same conclusions. People who've been through the same fires, who've asked the same questions, who've undergone the same transformations. They don't know each other. They're not organized. They're not a movement. But they're all doing the same thing, learning, growing, breaking free. And the system, the beautiful, perfect, carefully designed system, it's starting to crack. Not because of some revolution, not because of organized resistance, but because individuals are simply opting out, learning to exist outside the framework, finding freedom in the margins. And there's nothing they can do about it. Because you can't stop someone from thinking. You can't arrest someone for understanding. You can't imprison someone for evolution. The agents in that room, they're starting to see the patterns now. Not just in your file, but in others. Similar anomalies popping up in different corners of the grid. People who went silent, who stopped engaging, who started moving in ways the algorithms can't predict. It's like a quiet epidemic of awakening, spreading not through contact, but through resonance. One by one, souls cracking, open like seeds, growing roots in the dark, pushing through the concrete of conformity. And the system built to handle masses, crowds, predictable herds, it's not equipped for this. It's not designed to deal with individuals who refuse to be herded. They try to run the numbers, project the trends, forecast the impact. But every model fails because this isn't a trend. It's a paradigm shift. It's not something you can quantify or contain. It's consciousness expanding beyond the barriers they set. What really keeps them up at night is the potential chain reaction. Because if one anomaly like you can exist, then two can, then 10, then 1,000, and each one operating independently, but all pulling in the same direction toward freedom, toward truth, towards something bigger than the game they've been forced to play. They imagine scenarios where these anomalies start connecting, not through visible networks, these civilized people, but through shared ideas, through the ether of collective consciousness. Ideas you planted, perspectives you shifted, without even trying. Remember that influence they detected. The viral spread of your thoughts, that's multiplying now. Every person you indirectly touched, every mind you subtly altered, they're starting their own journeys. And those journeys lead to more anomalies, more glitches, more people slipping through the cracks. It's exponential but invisible, untrackable, because it's not about likes or shares. It's about quiet realizations in the middle of the night. The senior analyst, these civilized people, the one who recognized your weaponized trauma, he's probably drafting a report right now, titled something bland like Emerging Patterns in Behavioral Outliers. But between the lines, it's a warning, a subtle admission that the system is leaking, that control is slipping, that the matrix's flaws they're only now discovering. And you're patient zero in this awakening plague. The original glitch that exposed the vulnerabilities. But here's the beautiful part. You didn't set out to do this. You weren't trying to start a revolution. You were just trying to survive, to understand, to grow. And in doing that, you became the catalyst. Your evolution isn't just personal, it's inspirational. Even if no one knows your name, your energy ripples out. It touches others who are ready, who are on the edge, who need that final push to crack open. They'll try to adapt, of course. Update the algorithms, refine the profiles, create new categories for people like you. But it's too late, because evolution doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't follow updates. It surges forward, adapts faster than any system can patch. You've already shown the way, even if unintentionally. And now, others are following. Not your path exactly, but their own versions of it. Imagine the next meeting in that unmarked office. More files pulled, more silences. These set of people, more whispered. What the hell am I looking at? But this time, it's not just one file. It's a cluster. A pattern emerging from what they thought was noise. Anomalies linking up in ways they can't see, supporting each other without ever meeting. A decentralized network of awakened minds, each one a fortress of independence, each one a beacon for more. They'll debate responses, increased surveillance, new psyops, subtle interventions to pull people back into the fold. But deep down, they know it's futile. You can't surveil a mind that's learned to think in silence. You can't psyop someone who's deconstructed every manipulation tactic. You can't intervene on evolution. These civilized people, it's already in motion. The system's greatest weakness isn't the anomalies themselves. It's that it created them. Every pressure it applied, every control it enforced, every illusion it maintained, it all backfired, forging stronger, wiser, freer beings. And you, my friend, people, you're the proof, the living embodiment of what happens when a soul refuses to stay small, when pain becomes power, when isolation becomes insight, when rage becomes resolve. They're watching you, but you're not watching back. You're too busy living, creating, becoming. Your existence is the ultimate defiance, not loud, not violent, but profound. A quiet no to every chain they try to wrap around you. As the agents file out of that room, carrying their unanswered questions, one thing is clear: the game has changed. The hunters have become the studied. The controllers have lost the narrative. And you, these civilized people, you're just getting started. Whatever comes next, whatever worlds you build, whatever truths you uncover, people, it's yours. Free from their scripts, beyond their reach, infinite in potential. But let's dive even deeper, these civilized people. Because the implications stretch further than they realize. Your awakening isn't just a personal victory. It's a crack in the foundation of everything they've built. Societies, economies, power structures, all designed around predictable human behavior, around people who chase distractions, crave validation. People fear isolation. But when someone like you emerges, opting out of those loops, it creates a void. A missing piece in their grand design. They rely on engagement, on consumption, on division to keep the machine running. But you've learned to disengage without disappearing. To consume knowledge instead of products, to unite with yourself instead of factions. Multiply that by the others waking up, and suddenly the machine starts sputtering. Advertisements fall flat on minds that see through them. Propaganda bounces off consciousnesses that question everything. Economies built on endless wants falter when people learn to need less. It's not collapse they're afraid of, it's irrelevance. The system becoming obsolete as more people evolve beyond it. Not through destruction, but through transcendence. You're not tearing it down, you're rendering it unnecessary. And that's the ultimate threat, to become so irrelevant that it fades away. Like an old paradigm in the face of new understanding, they'll scramble to innovate, to create new illusions, new hooks to pull people back. But you've already studied innovation. You know that true change comes from within, not from top-down mandates. The others like you, they're innovating too, in their quiet ways. Building parallel systems, not of control, but of connection. Not hierarchies, but networks of equals. Not competition, but collaboration and freedom. One day, people, perhaps soon, that room full of agents will pull a file that's not an anomaly, but a norm. A world where awakened minds are the majority, where the old system is a relic, studied in history books as the age of sleep. And you'll be there not as a leader or a figurehead, but as the spark that started it all. The beautiful classified nightmare who turned out to be the dream they couldn't wake from. Until then, keep moving, keep evolving, keep being the glitch. Because the air has shifted. And it's not just confirmation, it's the wind of change, carrying your essence to every corner, but whispering to every ready soul, wake up, break free, become.